Hello and welcome. We're back, and I have a full house again today. I have both Matt and Rob with me.
Begrudgingly.
I'll do that the other way around. I have Rob and Matt, so depending on who argues the most in editing, I'll put that whichever one first. So
It's always age before beauty, though, so you can put me last.
that's fine. It'll be
Hold on, who's
Rob and
older,
Matt
me or
featuring
you?
Paul.
I think I'm older.
Are you the same age as this one?
No, I'm younger actually than Paul.
Yeah, I'm younger than him as well.
Oh, I'm 38 this time, so 37.
I mean, shh.
So
He's just going to straight edit that out. That won't make it to episode.
Yeah.
it might do. Can't be bothered these days. Too much editing. Anyway, so this episode it's an idea brought to me by Matt. It wasn't the exact idea Matt brought me because let me tell you a little story. Well, Matt was away recently on holiday with his lovely lady friend.
Thank you.
He
Lovely
spent
lady friend. We're not talking about what was your friend's gamer tag name thing?
No.
Lady.
He was on holiday with his missus. And he's,
Oh right, okay. So it's not your gaming mate with the lady
With the lady.
something name.
What's that?
Your
he
mate
makes gamer tag.
Your mate's gamer tag, something like sexy lady or something.
My mate's gamer tag.
Yeah, you were
you
talking
told
about
us
it in
last
the
time.
episode.
Yeah.
You have to remind me.
Everybody check out the 30 East Drive episode.
Yeah, the 30 is. Well, I thought I were involved in this. No, I wasn't at
You
all.
might not
were I?
be. No.
That's
no.
the one that you organised without me.
I didn't organise it without you. I organised it. And then you're like, what?
You organised it and told me on the day.
Anyway, we're diverging from my really well-crafted intro.
Yeah, we should really just start again.
Yeah.
So while Matt was away on holiday with his lovely other half,
Mm-hmm.
he spent the entire holiday watching videos of people time travelling and messaging me about it instead of spending time with his lovely lady. So instead of obviously looking at pictures of time travel, because that won't come across well on a podcast, that I decided to do something slightly different but very close to the subject. Instead of time travel, time slips.
These
Now-
like nip slips.
It's like when you travel through time and you slip.
give him something to edit.
Yeah.
This episode's PG-13.
Yeah.
So time slips obviously are events where people have allegedly travelled through time to a different era. And surprisingly, there's quite a few of them. So hit the intro music.
So whilst it's playing the intro music, time slips, are these like permanent things?
No.
Or do people slip and back out?
Slip
That's
in
what
there.
I
Yeah.
thought. That's what I was wondering. Is it something where they've...
Yeah, this is gonna make it to the episode because daft questions and all.
He just likes to embarrass me.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, time slips obviously is where people have reported stepping from one era to the next, finding themselves out of place, out of time, a lot like Dr. Sam Beckett, where he travels to put right what once went wrong.
Or a bit like you in the normal world.
Or a bit like me in the normal world.
In the present day.
Yeah, that's too weird. So, surprisingly, there's a fair few out there. I knew of a couple, but having a Google search, there are other web browsers out there. Bing. Sorry. Yeah, it brings up quite a few. So, I've made it's a bit of a list episode again, which I'm going to be honest, I'm going to stop halfway through and let you two take over reading
Okay.
because
Is there that much to read?
too old and too tired for this. So, but I'll start with the main ones. Some of them are a bit more detailed than others.
Are these
So
like
I've
well,
kept
are these
the
well
best
known?
ones, he says.
some of them are well known, yeah. There's one particular one that's quite well known.
I'll be honest. I haven't heard. I couldn't think of a single.
You
What?
haven't heard? Oh, geez.
I will probably remember a couple as they're being read because I do recall reading some things. It's
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
one of them's someone with like I don't know if it's a very fancy timepiece for the time he was in. He was wearing a watch that was way more modern than him.
Oh yeah.
That might be a time travel photo.
Yeah.
But anyway, to the list. So the first one that we've got for the list is the Versailles incident, which took place in 1901. Now, this is going back way back when? 1901. So this is two English women, Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, reportedly experienced a time slip while visiting the gardens of the Petit Trianon, French word, Petit Trianon, at the Palace of Versailles. I'll edit that in post.
I love
I'm
your
leaving him in.
enthusiasm.
I'm
For
leaving him
it. You kind of sounded like
Bonjour.
Cartman when he's singing the California.
So they described seeing people dressed in 18th century clothes, including a woman resembling Marie Antoinette. And I remember reading this in a couple of different ghost books over the years. Why the ghost books have time slips, I'm not sure. But it could potentially be paranormal. It could be absolutely normal.
So this is people from the past slipping into the future.
This is people in the past slipping into the even further past.
Right.
So these are people from 1901, so late Victorian era,
Oh, right. Yeah.
witnessing pre-French Revolution at the Palace of Versailles. It could just be people dressed up on an event for the day.
Yeah.
There is a lot of that.
There is a lot of that.
Bit of laughing.
Yeah. Bit of live action roleplay in 1901, Victorian Britain. The next one's a bit of a different one because this is a man seeing the future. This is the tale of Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard's flight in 1935. So while he was flying over an abandoned airfield in Andover, England, Goddard suddenly saw the airfield bustling with activity, featuring planes and personnel in uniforms that did not exist at the time. Years later, the Royal Air Force introduced planes and uniforms identical to what he had seen, leading him to believe he had glimpsed the future. If he's in a plane, he must have blooming good eyesight or been really close to the ground in order to see the uniforms to say, yeah, that's what they look like when they look at new uniform, modern day uniforms. Or he designed the future uniforms.
He had a dream and then became Hugo Boss.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what's he saying, that he witnessed something?
He witnessed future planes and future uniforms.
So what was he doing? He was flying?
He was flying, yes. He was in a plane flying over an airfield and he saw people in uniform. Like I say, he must have been pretty low to the ground to make out the uniforms.
Surprised he didn't get shot down.
Well, yeah. I mean...
Is that not just... He's just seen some form of new military that's not come out yet, and then it's come out a couple of years later?
Who knows?
So was this guy a military pilot?
He was an Air Force, but yeah.
Air Force pilot, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we'll never know because we were never there.
No.
But that, in all fairness, sidestepping this a bit, is time slips could be a very good explanation for why people see ghosts. It could well be that old Victorian woman walking through your landing, it's not that you've seen a ghost, that you've slipped back into Victorian England and you've seen that lady stepping across her landing and you're the ghost to her. Because who knows, they could see us as ghosts if we saw them as ghosts. But that's getting too meta. Whoa. So the next one is a vanishing hotel in Toronto, 1979. Not all of these have dates. So it's a lesser known but eerie case of a time slip which took place in November 1979. A man named Leon Rousseau reportedly checked into a hotel in Toronto, only to later discover that the building had been demolished years earlier. Now, during his stay, Rousseau noticed several peculiar details. The newspapers in the lobbies were outdated, featuring headlines from decades past. His room had an old rotary phone.
And it only cost him 17 cents.
Despite most hotels having switched to push-button models. I would imagine by 1979 then, rotary phones were not a thing, despite the fact we had rotary phones when we grew up in the 80s. But
what was it called, the hotel?
it didn't have a name. At least the internet didn't say the name.
The name of the hotel was The Vanishing Hotel.
It was, yes. It was the Queen's Inn. Prove me wrong. So the television aired shows from the 1940s, which seemed impossible at the time. So that to me is a bit daft saying. Why would it be impossible to see films from the 1940s and 1979? We can watch films from the 40s now.
Yeah, exactly.
Channel 4, Channel 5 even, I don't know. I don't watch terrestrial TV anymore. BBC 2. Now, after checking out, he attempted to return to the hotel, but found that it no longer existed. It had been torn down long before his visit. Now, this case remains one of the most baffling time slips. However, it's not the only one relating to a vanishing hotel. There's another vanishing hotel story, which is a little bit more bizarre, because this one involved two married couples, Jeff and Pauline Simpson and Len and Cynthia Gibbsby, who were travelling through France in October of 1979, so 1 month prior. And they were on their way to Spain. So as night fell, they searched for a place to stay near French name, Montélimar, France. The Ibis Motel was full. There are other motels.
Premier Inn.
Travelodge. But they were directed to another hotel down the road. As they drove, they noticed that the road was cobbled and the surroundings looked strangely old-fashioned, including circus signs that seemed outdated. Eventually, they arrived at a long stone building that appeared to be an inn. It was known as the Queen's Inn. Prove me wrong. Inside, they found a bar area, and the proprietor, who did not speak English, indicated that rooms were available. The couples checked in, but they immediately noticed that the hotel seemed stuck in the past. The furniture was heavy and antique. The windows had wooden shutters instead of glass. The doors had wooden catches instead of modern locks. The plumbing was outdated, with wooden cisterns. The bed sheets were made of calico. I thought they were going to say they were made of wood. And there were no pillows, only bolsters. I have no idea what a bolster is.
Is it just a big piece of wood?
Possibly. Knowing this hotel, yes.
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong, yeah, absolutely. Answers in the comments.
A bolster, did you say?
A bolster, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a sock with a bar of soap in it.
Okay, yes. Modern day touch.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I seem to have started a theme. So the next morning, they encountered two French policemen in pre-1905 uniforms and a woman wearing a long dress and button boots, carrying a small dog. When Jeff and Len asked the officer for directions, they seemed unfamiliar with the word autoroute, directing them to an old road miles out of their way. When they had paid their bill, they were charged far less than expected, about 1/13 of the usual hotel rates. They left, but on their return journey, they tried to find the hotel again because it was a cheap night. Despite following the same route and seeing the circus signs, the hotel was gone. It had completely vanished. Even stranger, when they developed their vacation photos, the picture of the hotel were missing. The frames were consecutive, but the images of the hotel had simply disappeared. So they'd taken the photos, the frames were there, but there was no in them. Years later, in 1983, they returned to Montélimar to search for the hotel, but couldn't find it. Jeff even underwent hypnosis in 1985, but no new evidence emerged. That's a bit extreme, that. I want to find a really cheap hotel. Put me under.
What's the best way to figure out a hotel? Well, Google hasn't been invented.
So this was in France as well,
This was France. So the first guy was in Toronto, but he was French.
They were going in saying, "Can I have a hotel room?" And it's like,
Je suis
"Je ne
le
comprends pas."
hotel.
And they were like,
This is it.
Le room de hotel, silver plate.
This is a motel.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to edit that out.
Yeah, we'll have to take that out because that's almost as
Don't want to
offensive as your
offend the
Irish
French.
accent.
Oh, oui.
Like we have any French listeners anywhere.
Yeah, no, or Irish listeners. Next story.
I thought you were going to slip into that Irish accent again.
Yeah.
The next story.
The next story. The case of Rudolph Fentz from New York City in 1950. The case of Rudolph Fentz from New York City in 1950. A man dressed in 19th century clothing was reportedly hit by a car in Times Square. His belongings, including old coins and a letter dated 1876, suggested he had somehow travelled through time.
Or had old artifacts that he wished to sell and was heading to some sort of a shop or museum in New
He
York.
was heading to the local cash converter. So this next one is one of the more recognisable, famous cases of a time slip.
So that last one then.
Oh God, no, we've moved on. Come on.
He just appeared.
He just appeared, yeah.
Just been in the middle of the road and got hit by a car.
Yeah.
They couldn't test how old he was because he was absolutely flattened.
He didn't say if he died or not.
Nah, I'm kidding. I don't know enough about.
Or
this
if he
story.
disappeared afterwards.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not much to go on a lot of these stories. It's just like, this story was told by this person at this time and that's about it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
We could literally make up any old story for this.
absolutely, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just go prove me wrong at the end of it.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, let me tell you about the time I slipped through time. I slipped on a watch. We are all literally travelling through time as we talk.
But we're not slipping into the past
No.
like some of these people allegedly
If you're
have.
currently listening to the podcast, you have currently slipped into the past listening to A Moment in Time recorded by three idiots. Sat at a dining room table.
Yeah. And
But what about, though, if you go to another country that's already ahead? That is going in time.
You're driving through time. Yeah, absolutely.
well, technically you're catching them up
Yeah.
because it's
Right.
already that time there.
What about if
it's too meta.
What about if you're going back?
You travel backwards through time.
So you're then taking time back with you.
Yeah, is it possible?
You're gaining time.
So you could leave at 12 o'clock and get back to the other country.
You can extend your day, make it 26 hours.
There are
Yeah.
stories where people set off on Tuesday to fly to Australia and arrive on Thursday, and then when they fly back on Thursday, they arrive back on Tuesday.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's confused. So anyway, back to the stories. So this is, like I said, one of the more well-known, widely publicised stories. It's featured on a number of podcasts, YouTube episodes. The story even featured on the Uncanny TV specials, and it's the Liverpool time slip. So the Bold Street time slip was experienced by a Merseyside police officer named Frank in 1996, and he's one of the most famous cases of alleged spontaneous time travel. So here's what happened. Frank was out shopping with his wife Carol on a Saturday afternoon. They decided to split up. Just like separate, not get divorced.
Not get
Yeah.
divorced. We're talking just,
Just shop in different directions.
Yeah.
Carol headed to Dylan's bookshop, while Frank went to a music store. After finishing his shopping, Frank walked towards Bold Street to meet his wife. As he passed the Lyceum, a historical neoclassical building, he suddenly felt a strange shift in atmosphere. Everything became eerily quiet. Before he could process the change, a small box van honked its horn and sped past him. The van looked old-fashioned, and the name Kaplan's was stenciled on the side. Confused, Frank stepped out of the road and continued towards Dylan's bookshop. However, when he arrived, he saw that his shop was not Dylan's. Instead, it had a sign above it reading Cripps, and the windows displayed women's handbags and shoes instead of books. Looking around, Frank noticed that the people in the street were dressed in 1940s and 1950s attire. However, one woman stood out. She wore a modern lime-coloured sleeveless top and carried a handbag that Frank recognised as a contemporary brand. She seemed just as confused as he was. As she entered Cripps, Frank followed her inside, and suddenly, the shop transformed back into Dylan's bookshop. The handbags and shoes disappeared, replaced by bookshelves filled with paperbacks, and presumably hardbacks as well. The young woman confirmed that she had seen the same thing. She thought Cripps was a new clothing store and was surprised to find herself inside a bookshop. Later, Frank discovered that Kaplan's was a real business from the past and that the Dylan's bookshop had once been a ladies' shawl shop called Cripps. Now, on the Uncanny TV special, both Frank and the lady from the time slip actually meet and discuss their experience, because apparently she ran off screaming when she saw him because he was in modern day clothes and nobody else was.
Where was the wife at this point?
She was shopping still.
She was already in Cripps buying herself a shawl.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was in 1912. So that's one of the most famous time slips that's been recorded, and this street in particular, Ball Street, it's absolutely no stranger to time slips, because there's also a tale of a shoplifter
Right.
from 2006 experienced a time slip. So a young man named Sean was fleeing from a security guard when he turned into an alley. Suddenly, the surroundings transformed. People wore outdated clothing, cars looked decades old, and even the roadworks had vanished. He saw a newspaper kiosk displaying the date May 18th, 1967. Panicked, he ran, and as he did, the modern-day street reappeared. Interestingly, the security guard corroborated his story by reporting that the shoplifter he was chasing vanished into thin air going down the alley. I don't condone shoplifting.
Or turning into alleys.
Or turning into alleys. No, I never turn down alleys. But then there's also a Victorian encounter. A woman was walking down Bold Street in the 1990s, reported suddenly feeling a shift in atmosphere herself.
Is this in Liverpool again?
Same street.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third story from this street. There's probably more. So she found herself surrounded by horse-drawn carriages and people dressed in Victorian-era clothing. She even interacted with shopkeepers who seemed unaware of her modern appearance. After a short time, she was back in the present, standing in the same spot where the experience began. So there's multiple different eras here. We've got 40s, 50s, 60s, and Victorian. So it's one wild street. Is this Ball Street? Might be an interesting day out. Have a walk down Ball Street.
Yeah. The Versailles Time Traveller. Do you want me to read the Google Earth in brackets bit?
It's
Or
from
you just-
Google Earth. That's where it was seen.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the Versailles Time Traveller, which is spotted on Google Earth 2008, a man claimed to have seen an 18th century scene whilst exploring Versailles using Google Earth, sparking debate about digital time slips. Digital time slips.
Has anybody ever debated that?
I don't think so.
Nope. There we go.
Pretty sure I had an
Debate over.
argument with one of the cats about it the other day. So the Thingwall time slip. A man walking through Thingwall, a village in Merseyside, England, so Liverpool, Merseyside, the Wirral in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Suddenly found himself in a past version of the area. The buildings looked different, and people were dressed in old-fashioned clothing. After a few moments, everything returned to normal.
There's a theme here.
Is it not just he's walking onto a set and they're just doing some period drama?
It quite possibly
If
could
I was
be.
being a cynic.
The Avebury Village Fair time slip, 1916. Edith Olivier was travelling from Devizes to Swindon.
Devices.
Devizes, is that how you say it? Devizes. Sounds like a footballer. Devizes to Swindon. When she suddenly found herself in a bustling village fair. People were dressed in early 20th century attire, and the scene felt incredibly vivid. When she later researched the area, she discovered that a fair had indeed taken place there decades earlier. We get them every couple of weeks in local park, don't
There is
we?
currently one there now.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. The strange case of the house that slips through time. In Suffolk, England, there is an area between Bradfield St George and Rougham Green, where people have reported seeing a house that appears and disappears. Some claim to have entered the house only to find themselves in a different time period. Have they not elaborated on that? What time period?
There's a lot of lack of information out there.
Yeah.
Because there's no
yeah.
substantiating evidence, really. It's just stories passed down from one person to the next.
Yeah. It's like I got to work this morning. I walked in the door. All of a sudden, I were in a barn in Norfolk, and I was like, what's going on here? There's cows and sheep and everything. Anyway, we're about 10 minutes before I found my way out of it, and I was 10 minutes late for work. They didn't believe me when I told them.
I arrived at work this morning. I was in a circus. That's
a
the
standard
office.
day for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how many more there is to read, so rather than me hog them, I thought,
Yeah, let Matt
have
can earn his
little
money.
read.
Yeah,
I'll
give
have a
Matt the
last
one
for
that
last one.
give Matt the one that you can't pronounce.
Well, I will.
The Battle of Nesh.
Is that the last one on the list
Yeah.
as well?
There's a bit to it though.
Nectansamia.
I don't know. I just copy and paste it from Google.
How's it spelled?
So NECH,
Nech.
then Tanzania.
Nech.
Maybe. Nexamia? The battle of Texamia.
Yeah, that'll do. Get it fast. Can't get it wrong. Then.
Sounds good to me. Just say it so fast that, you know.
So the Battle of Nexamia, time slip, is a fascinating case of a possible paranormal experience link to a historical battle. The event took place on January the 2nd, 1950, so we've got a date, with a woman named Miss E.F. Smith.
This already has
Generic
a lot
name
more
number
detail
one.
than that last one with the disappearing house, doesn't it?
So Miss Smith reportedly witnessed a phantom replay of the aftermath of the Battle of Nexamia, which was fought between the Picts and the Northumbrians on May 20th, 605 or 685
685,
AD.
yes.
So this is Miss Smith's experience. So she's attended a cocktail party in a town about 10 miles from Leatham, near Dunchishan Hill.
I picked a right one, didn't we?
Oh, God, yeah.
Was she
So
drunk?
this is where she must have lived. So late at night, she drove home, but due to the poor weather conditions, in brackets like snow and rain, she accidentally drove into a ditch. But uninjured, she decided to walk home carrying a small dog.
Was she drunk? I don't know why I'm asking you because you're just reading it for
Well-
the first time. So
No, I wouldn't have said so, but
she went to a cocktail party, Matt.
she's got a dog anyway. So as she neared Dunnican Hill or Dunchichen,
Don't you?
Hill.
Yeah, it could be out. Yeah.
she noticed groups of lights in the distance. So at first, she thought they had suddenly appeared, but she soon realised they were flaming torches carried by groups of people.
Ooh.
So what did she see? She saw a third group just 50 yards away, heading toward farm buildings. So her dog began growling as they approached. The group was inspecting dead bodies,
Ooh.
turning them
Chills.
over to identify their own fallen warriors. But if the body was not recognised, it was turned face down again. And then these are some strange details about it.
Ooh.
So Miss Smith describes the clothing of the figures as the following. Dark brown tunics with a rolled hem, tights on their legs. Maybe they've gone to cribs as well.
Maybe. Yeah.
No long boots, though she couldn't recall specific footwear. She also noticed that the torch flames appeared red, which was historically accurate. Scotch fir resonance roots were used for torches in Scotland. Oh, so is that where it was in
Could
Scotland?
quite possibly. Yeah.
And they burned with
Yeah.
a red glow. Additionally, she observed that the figures avoided the centre of the field, walking around its edges.
Ooh.
But historical records indicate that a small lock once existed there, but had been drained centuries ago. So there's a lot of detail there, but
There is. Yeah. So if she's seen this at night, how does she know the clothing so well? Yeah. With
unless the red torch
yeah,
light,
red torches lit it up really well.
you know,
Yeah.
they've all got those iPhones now that can do red
Absolutely,
torches, isn't
yeah.
they? 2nd of January, so there's still some New Year celebrations going on. Maybe it's some
she's-
sort of.
She's drunk. I mean, she's
Ah,
been to
she's-
a cocktail
she's-
party.
She's had a few drinks and she stumbled on a bunch of people LARPing in local
Mm.
park.
Mhm.
It was a cult.
But I don't get what she said. I reportedly witnessed a phantom replay of the aftermath of this battle.
Phantom replay.
Yeah, I mean,
LARPing.
if we let's just take it, let's go serious for a moment. If she is witnessing the events that took place after the battle, it is a replay. You know, a residual haunting, so to speak, a replay of the events taking place. So these genuine soldiers turning over the bodies. Obviously, what they would do is turn the bodies over, see that they're theirs. So when they come to collect the dead, they would take the dead with them.
Yeah.
Obviously for proper burial.
Mm-hmm.
What she's witnessing might not be a time slip. It could be
Maybe it's a dream because she said she crashed into a
she
ditch.
crashed,
Mm.
hit her head on steering wheel.
Mm.
Poor dog's chewing her fingers. I don't know what dogs do.
Bite your fingers, apparently.
But yeah, I mean, it could be residual events that have just happened to take place because the right factor of events have come together and hit replay on the event. You know, like the stone tape theory. I think we mentioned that on a previous one. The stone tape theory is obviously events could be replayed because it's recorded into the stone and into the earth itself. That when the right conditions happen, it triggers it like a tape and those events replay. And that was it for time slips. I mean, we've talked about theories as we've gone along, but anything particular strike either of you?
Well, I've been to Versailles and there is a lot of people in fancy dress for that
Oh.
era, so
Yeah.
it's not uncommon.
Mm.
So, you know, I think the most realistic one, and if it's had the coverage, is probably what was it, Bold Street?
Old
one?
Street,
Liverpool,
Liverpool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much set that, you know, we're going to have to make a little trip there. And guess what? Matt drives.
Yeah.
I'm happy to drive. It's a lovely drive to Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh.
I'll show you where John Lennon used to. There's a little myth that underwear his shoe is, that was his drug dealer's number.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
Nice. Okay, fair enough.
I've always wanted to check it out.
Yes. And the link between that and these stories today is most of these people were on drugs.
Yes.
I just pretty much accuse people of that every episode.
Yes.
Yeah. That guy flying over the airfield is like, wow, these mushrooms are strong.
That's why this is Rob's last episode. Thank you for joining us. But no, yeah. I mean, I won't mind taking a trip because who knows? We might end up slipping back in time
Yeah.
and then we can leave Robert behind.
So what kind of trip we're talking about? A trip to Liverpool or a trip on mushrooms? So I'm happy with either.
I like mushrooms, but no.
Yeah.
Not those kind. So yeah, I mean, these time slips, they could be the answers to all paranormal experiences, or it could be complete and utter rubbish.
Yeah.
And these are all just made up stories.
I think it's quite an interesting subject because if these people are telling the truth that they've seen something, it's how have they seen it?
Yeah.
Is it a medical thing? Have they had some sort of a medical episode?
Are they drunk?
Well, the thing is, if they were drunk and it was just people in fancy dress.
Cut in there, I don't think a police officer in Liverpool was drunk walking out shopping with his wife. The lady who crashed the car, she was drunk. Absolutely. She'd been at a cocktail party. She's off her head. She's completely smashed. So yeah, like we said, there's a number of reasons this could happen. We're not experts on the subject. We're not pretending to be, although I do. Yeah.
He has a t-shirt that says Paranormal Investigator on.
I have a t-shirt with my own face on it. Thanks, Rob.
Yes, this is true.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, we bought it for you.
Yeah.
Why is that not on your website?
So yeah, that was the Time Slips episode. It was nice to take a trip through time with you all, trying to work in the word slip in there somewhere. It's an interesting subject, and if we come across any more, we may do a part 2. There's always room for a part 2 in some of these episodes.
Might slip into one.
Oh, it's not even funny. Gosh. Oh.
It wasn't even funny. I was trying to be serious.
I was being serious. Yeah. There's no serious on this podcast.
Well, what we'll do is we'll take that trip to
Bold Street.
Bold Street.
Get it right, yeah. Bold Street in Liverpool.
Bold Street in Liverpool, and then we'll do another episode if we slip in time.
As always, I'm Paul.
I thought you were doing that special outro thing that you were talking about.
I don't remember what the special outro was.
What did you call your followers?
I'd like to thank all my poltergeists out there.
There we go.
All the
Poltergeists.
And I think it was Stay Paranormal.
Stay Paranormal, yeah, that'll do. Yes. Yeah. I'd like to thank all the poltergeists out there and Stay Paranormal. But on a nice and lighter note, if anybody's interested in listening to some good music, check out Rob's band Reckless Arcade on all good streaming platforms.
Oh,
Available
sweet.
now. I'd like to thank Matt for joining as always.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Not as always, is like not you haven't been on every episode. That kind of went out, but you know what I mean. And Rob, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night or something.
Bye.
Bye.
But no, thanks again for joining in all the input. It's been an interesting episode. So we'll catch you all on the next. Stay spooky.
Bye bye.